Hi. Today we're going to read Chapter 10 of Cynthia Lord's Shelter Pet Squad, Merlin. A Name for a Fish. I see you've brought your own carrier for Merlin, Ms. Flores said, but let me find a box to pack his things in. I'm sure he'd like some familiar toys and blankets to start with. You could put those in his castle, I said, as long as nothing falls out of the windows. I'd love that, Mrs. Avery said. But are you sure you want me to take your castle? We also made him a restaurant, a store, a school, and a fort, Levi said. Would you like those too? Yes, said Mrs. Avery. He could play with a different building every day. The other kids rushed down to the workroom to grab their boxes, all except Allie. She started for the hallway, but then came over and whispered to me, I couldn't have read that ferret book when I was in second grade either. That was nice of Allie. Was she pointing out that she's older than me and a better reader? When I stepped back and looked at her face, she wasn't grinning like she was making fun, though. She looked like she was just telling me something. Thanks, I said. As Allie headed down to the workroom to get her box, I called after her. I'm glad you made Merlin a school. I don't even know why I said that. I just wanted to say something nice, and that was all I could think of. Maybe it was okay, though, because she called back, thanks, as she went into the workroom. While Mrs. Avery signed the adoption papers, I glanced at the fish tank. Merlin had a new home, but our goldfish still needed to find her one. She swished her tail, swimming past. It didn't seem fair that we didn't know her name, or who brought her to the shelter, or why they left her on the doorstep. But she didn't look sad. She just looked happy to watch everything going on in front of her. Ms. Kim put Merlin in the pet carrier. Ms. Flores carried a bag of ferret food. We Shelter Pet Squad kids each brought our box out to Mrs. Avery's car. Bye, Merlin, Matt said, putting his pizza restaurant in the back seat. Be careful when you're appearing and disappearing, okay? Be good, Allie said as she put her box in next. And don't take things that don't belong to you. Have fun digging outdoors in the garden, Jada said. Our boxes filled up Mrs. Avery's back seat. On the front seat, Merlin pressed his face up against the door of his carrier. Mrs. Avery shut the doors, almost crying. It'll be so nice to have a ferret in the house again. I've missed their silly ways. Could you send us some photos of Merlin in his new home, Ms. Kim asked. Mrs. Avery nodded. As soon as he's settled, I'll take some pictures. The car drove away. I reached into my pocket to touch Whiskers, hoping he'd make me feel better. The empty driveway looked so lonely. The small animal room will feel very quiet without Merlin, Ms. Kim said. The whole shelter will be quiet without Merlin, Ms. Flores said. We won't have to keep up with our ferret proofing now. She didn't say it like it was a good thing, though. I knew she'd miss Merlin, too. At least we don't have to do any fish proofing, Jada said. Goldfish can't steal keys or climb into desk drawers. That little fish makes me happy whenever I look at her, Ms. Flores said. I've been thinking maybe we should keep our newest shelter pet. She can live in the lobby like Shadow and Hattie. Keep her? I looked at Ms. Flores to see if she really meant it. She was smiling. I think that's a great idea, said Ms. Kim. But if she's staying with us, she needs a name. Susanna, would you like to name her since you found her? My heart jumped. Yes, I had lots of stuffed animals, but never a real one. The other kids wanted to help. Levi suggested water names, Splash, Swish, or Bubble. Jada thought something sparkly would be better, Glitter, Glimmer, or Shiny. Allie liked color names, Goldie, Tangerine, or Coral. Matt came up with a list of funny ones, Jaws, Moby Dick, or Nemo. Those were all good, but I wanted a name that was more like what she looked like, more than where she lived. I wanted a name that was just hers. As we walked back into the shelter, I looked at the doorstop where I found her. She had been left behind hoping for a new home. And just like that, her name came to me. A wishing name, a name full of second chances and promises. Her name is Hope, I said. That's the end of the chapter. That was a quick one. Bye.